This is the A to Z podcast. Expert insights on leadership, business, real estate, investing, and growth.
Almost all leadership experts agree that leading others begins with self, which means leadership begins with self leadership. And the starting place for self leadership is self awareness. What we're not aware, we cannot manage, we cannot lead. And there are many ways I use to increase my self awareness. Sometimes I ask people directly about feedback, or after a coaching or training, I get evaluation forms, and that way I could be able to get some feedback. The other way I increase my self awareness is by using assessments. You have to understand this. There are strength limitations that you already know. That's not where the potential is for you to become well in your self leadership. You have blind spots. I have blind spots. Unfortunately, we are unable to uncover our own blind spots. That's why we call them blind spots. Something should help us to uncover them. That's where the potential is. That's why I encourage leaders, try everything possible, if necessary, big for feedback so that you could uncover your blind spots. I'm going to give you some examples just to see how I increase my self awareness. As I said, after a coaching or training, I solicit feedback, and sometimes those feedbacks are very powerful. I remember one time I was sharing really a heartbreaking story, but the way I presented it didn't go well with one of the participants. I was sharing about a research where it says that the majority of people that took that assessment say that the people who died because of heart attack, they experienced that between 8 to 9 a.m. And that could be because they're thinking about going to a place or meeting people they don't like, and that stressed them out and they experience heart attack. The way I explained it, I personally, I felt I demonstrated enough empathy, but the person said that I recently lost my mom because of heart attack, and when you were sharing that story, I wish you acknowledge that that was not really something that should be taken lightly. She preferred me to acknowledge that that's a sad situation. Going forward, whenever I share that story, I add some emotion to it. I bring out the feeling I have about this sad situation so that the audience feel that I'm not sharing this because of like this is something good. I'm sharing this because we need to understand that if we don't take care of our people, if we don't take care of the environment, people are gonna be stressed out. And I never get any feedback in this regard again, which means I improved. Another feedback I got was I used to use an example using gun. Now I'm using it just for the purpose of learning. And I used to say, if I put a gun on your head, what would be your choice between these two? And I thought that was kind of like fun. I didn't see any harm in using that example, but someone gave me a feedback saying that, look, AZ, I think you have good intention. You think this is funny for you, but for us, we have a different perspective about guns. And actually, I talked to my mentor. I couldn't understand the feedback. Someone who was born here in the US. And I talked to that person. What does that mean? And he was like, AZ, let me explain to you. He explained to me, I never used that again. What does that mean? If I was not open to this feedback, I wouldn't improve. I wouldn't become better. I also take some assessments. I remember for the first time, I took MBTI and it came out like I have preference for introversion. I was like kind of like shocked because the definition I have for introversion was like somebody shy, somebody disengaged, somebody weird. That was wrong. And he was explaining to me, the person who was coaching me, for the first time. Now I have certification and I help people. But the first time when I took that assessment during the debrief, he explained to me, and he was asking me questions, and I came to this conclusion. Okay, the way I'm wired, I prefer introversion, which basically means I draw energy within me than draw energy by mingling with people. And exercises and activities that I do, like planning, meditating, strategizing, reading books, writing books, and hiking. All of these things, I enjoy them because I go within me and I get energy and I love those situations. But I'm a trainer, I'm a businessman, and therefore I decided I have to go out of my comfort zone to network. And I force myself to network a couple of times every week to make people consciously, to reach out to people, to talk to them via Zoom. I changed in my workshops when I share with them, hey, I have preference for introversion. People will say, no, AZ, that can't happen. No, you're not introvert, because they have another definition. That awareness gave me some comfort. Why? Now I know what I am comfortable, and also how to push myself out to pursue my purpose and do my job very well. After a training, if participants say, hey, AZ, let's go out for dinner, I will say yes. In the past, I, I already spent one day with them. I already spent my energy. I need to go back to my hotel or take walk. That's what I prefer. But I learned that I need to go out of my comfort. If I didn't have that awareness, I wouldn't be able to lead myself better. And of course, I always get feedback from people from assessment. I'm not saying I took those different assessments and I know myself yet. No, I still keep on asking feedback. I remember before I came to the United States, I remember I used to buy these little exercise books and give it to my friends and asking them feedback, and some of my relatives. Some of them, they gave me feedback. Some of them, they said, no, I'm not writing anything about you, because I was asking them, tell me whatever you're thinking about me, whether it's good or bad. I want to know. Some enjoyed it, filled it. They asked me another book because they had so many things to say about me. Now I don't do that. But as I interact with people, formally or informally, I gather feedback to uncover my blind spots. My today's goal is to help you to be active, intentional, to seek feedback. But first, you don't need to be a religious person or Christian to hear this story, and you don't need to take any spiritual implication from this story. Jesus, he asked his disciples, who do you think people say I am? And they were fast. Like, they say you are Elijah, they say you are Jeremiah, you are Moses, you are one of the prophets. And he stopped and asked them, what about you? Who do you think I am? Everybody was quiet except one, Peter. He said, you are the Messiah. And Jesus blessed him. What do you think Jesus did? He knew himself, but he wanted to know what other people say about him. Not only that, he wanted straight the record. He asked them, who do you think I am? And by saying, yes, that's who I am, to Peter's answer, he aligned them along his true identity and self. What about you as a leader? Do you know what other people are saying about you? whether you like them or not. In most cases, most of the feedback you get, they could be wrong. Maybe they don't understand you. Maybe you have ideological differences. Maybe they're just people who want to just put you down. It doesn't matter. You want to know what other people say about you. Most importantly, the people around you. And I want to share with you 3 unflattering things people say about me. The first thing people will say is, oh, AZ is egotistical. A few times I heard people say he's narcissist. This doesn't bother me because I've done my homework. I'm not just ignoring those things, but I've done my homework. What's the definition of ego? Is there anybody who doesn't have ego? Also, what's narcissism? I have my own definitions. Based on my own definitions, I'm not like off chart as an egotistical person or even narcissist. From their perspective, from their definition, from their culture, subculture, the way they look at the world and their belief system, I am egotistical, fine, but I want to know. And you'll be surprised the kind of conversation I have had about that. For me, everybody has ego, and ego is good if it is healthy. For example, if you don't have ego, you don't have the passion, the drive to do something or to protect yourself. And ego is there to protect you. It's kind of identity. And you're driving. You don't want your soul to take over. You want your ego to take over to protect you. You're driving. You have to be careful. There is a place for your soul, your spirit, your persona, your true self, and there's a place for ego. It protects you from so many mistakes and accidents and so on. And I appreciate ego, my ego, and I like people who have ego. The key thing is you need to know what ego is and to make sure that it doesn't become pathological. I can give you one example. I was conversating with someone I know very well, and I just wrote a book. I think it was 2000. I wrote the book 2011, but the person and I were conversating 2015 or so, and we're very close, kind of peer. We know each other. We debate all the time. And he say, "Why did you write this book in English?" Because he's from my country. And he said, "Why did you write in English?" I said, "Because the people who are working with me right now, my clients, they are non-Ethiopians. They don't understand our local language, and that's why I'm using English." "Do you think these people are gonna really learn anything from you?" I said, "What do you mean?" I was shocked. "What do you mean?" "Because there are other people in their own communities that write with their local language, even with English. Why do they need to read your English book? You should have written this to your own community." If you understand what ego is, you think I'm egotistical because I believe that what I know may benefit other people outside of my community. And because he was lowering his expectation about himself, he is not egotistical. I left him and I was thinking, who's egotistical here? I immediately decided he's egotistical. Because remember what ego does. Ego is trying to protect you so that you don't go too far. You don't raise your bar. Always the ego want to keep you within safe zone. It doesn't want the ego to be bruised. Protect itself. That's why when you have big ego, you don't want to make mistake. You don't want to venture out. You don't want to test, fail, and learn. For this guy, he doesn't have self-respect. He doesn't think that he has something that could help other people outside of his communities. That's fine. That's his self-worth, fine. But at the same time, also, he's a capable guy. He could speak in English and Amharic. Why not share something in English outside of his community? Because his ego doesn't allow him. But he thinks he is humble because he's not writing. As you can see, we have ideological differences. I don't undermine his perspective. That's who he is. But what I do is not egotistical. I know something and I share. Since 2014, I wrote a lot of books, and a lot of people bought my books, including Ethiopians and other people who are not Ethiopians. Have been providing coaching and training, and there, which means I'm serving other people. It's not egotistical. I can give you another example. There was one guy who used to come to the United States every like year, 2, 3 times, and he had a group he was leading. It was great in facilitation and so on. It was around 2008, 9, 10. And I was about to go out and facilitate, coach, and I was learning from him. He invited me to the group. And you could see in the group, I was new to the group, but I was the one speaking more. Whenever he asked questions, I respond. Sometimes he corrects me. It's embarrassing, but I don't mind because I'm learning. The more I answer, the more I know where I am, the more he corrects me, the more I become better. Somehow he liked me because I was always speaking my mind. And one time we were speaking, and he was asking me, where did this confidence came from? He didn't say where this ego came from. This confidence came from. You're not afraid of failing. You're not afraid of making mistakes. I told him I grew up in the eastern part of Ethiopia, a liberal community, a liberal culture within Ethiopia, where from childhood we were encouraged to talk to our parents, our grandparents. We don't like, there is no power distance between us. If I meet someone powerful than me in terms of office, I talk to them like they are my peer, my friend. It's not mean I'm disrespecting their office. I know the distance, I'm sure, but I make it easy for us to communicate. Or I meet someone older than me, and I don't like make it a big deal and create this distance between us. Hard to communicate. And a lot of people actually like that because I'm not making them too old. I grew up in that culture. And whenever I go out everywhere, if I have to say something, if I know something, I say, somebody correct me, fine. For people to say I'm humble, I don't want to stop this, which I have developed for like decades. And this person asked me those questions, and he understood from where I was coming from. And one time we had another conversation, and he told me this. Asagir, you have to know that a lot of people told me when I brought you to the group that you are egotistical and therefore you think you're better than other people. But I somehow believed in you. Now I believe you are humble. This kind of feedback are rare to me. And I asked him, what makes you to say that I'm humble? Look, I measure humbleness not based on somebody showing, humility like this, speaking slow or low. That's not how I measure. Or somebody saying, oh, I don't know anything, you know better than me. That's not how I measure humility. I measure humility whether somebody want to learn because they know they're not yet know everything. And also when they make mistakes, they correct it. And when they meet someone who's better than them, they acknowledge that person, they learn from that person. And that's what I have seen from you. And therefore you are humble. As you can see from this conversation, what I'm telling you is, at least I know that there are people who think I am egotistical, and I'm not denying. Like everybody else, I have ego, but I check it and I make sure that I learn, I take risk, fail, learn, I seek knowledge, I honor people who are better than me in certain things, because ego become pathological and you become narcissist. You think you are the most this in the world, better than everybody else. That kind of things happen. There are people who don't want to admit their mistakes, people who think that they know better than everybody else. And so that's not me. If you look at me, if you tell me a book that I never read, I'll take note and buy it. If you come to me with your skill set, I immediately read it and I know it and I honor you and I want to ask, and I ask you to work with me. Only when you are humble, you do these things. Therefore, outwardly, the way I speak and the way I present myself could be considered egotistical. I'm aware of it. Sometimes I tell people quickly, "Yeah, you have to know that people think I'm egotistical, but just be patient with me." I bring it up. The second thing people talk about me is he's transactional. It's hard. It was hard for me to learn about it. But somebody came up to me one time and he told me that people told me that you are transactional, but I'm taking my chance and I want to work with you, but I don't want to work transactionally. And I was asking him follow-up questions and I told him I'm not like that. And why are people saying you're transactional? He asked me. I told him maybe because I'm a high performer. And all high performer, if you are listening to this, you agree with me. If you are a high performer, you do not die. If you have time, maybe a time to take a nap. Maybe if you have a time, maybe to read a book. If you have time, maybe to exercise while you are learning something. If you have a little bit time, you're calling and following up with your clients. If you have a little bit time, you are prospecting. You're busy. You don't have time. And therefore, you're careful about your time. So when you meet someone, you quickly want to understand how you can help them. And therefore, you share with them, this is who I am, what I stand for. These are the services that I have, the opportunities that I have. Are there any one of these that interests you? So I ask the other person. I want to ask questions to learn who they are, what they stand for, what kind of opportunity that they have, what kind of skill set and experience that they have, and how I can help them. I make it easy for some people. Some people, they talk to me one time and they never want to talk to me. I'm fine with that because I help them by clearly telling them this is who I am, what I do, and these are the areas where I'm looking to collaborate with people. These are the areas where I help other people. And some people love this if they are high performers because they look at me, they know what it looks like working with me. If they are high performers, they want to work with me. If not, they walk away. And one time somebody was explaining to me, look, in the culture where we come from, contract is not the first thing we talk about. We go out, hang out and eat and so on. I told him I do those things for certain occasions. For example, if I'm dating someone, I'm not talking about these things. I'm going out, eating, and talking, chatting. I don't have any agenda. I'm not transactional. I will go out and that thing may lead for us to become girlfriend, boyfriend or not. Or if I meet a young guy who's in college and he wants me maybe to mentor him, I don't go transactional. I don't talk about business. I just talk what they're looking for, who they are, what they want, whether they are the right mentees, whether I'm the right mentor for them. If I meet someone who's experienced than me, maybe older than me, I'm not talking about business. I go out with them to learn from them, take note, buy them lunch, tea, whatever. Take note, learn from them. Down the road, they may adopt me as a mentee. But if I meet someone in a network, I want to quickly tell them what I do. They say I have friends and colleagues. I want to be clear with them. Look, these are the areas I am focusing on. For example, recently I started, the last couple of years, I was working in the finance industry. I was emailing, texting, LinkedIning, everybody I know. Hi, I am now in this industry. I want you to know. And if anybody you know who needs the services, please let me know. I can help them. Not transactional for me. Unfortunately, I also have some colleagues, friends. They tell me about their business, what they do, but they never bring it up and ask me, for example, hey, Izzy, I have this practice that I have. Who is providing this service to you? I tell them, let's say, yeah, I'm getting the service from so and so. What kind of services are they giving you? This kind of services. Oh, I can give you a better deal. I love that kind of things. I could say no, but this is no transaction for me. This person, my friend, my colleague, they are telling me what they do. If they have the courage, if they want to be honest about it, they should have told me right away. Hey, I'm doing these things. I'm doing these things. I'm offering these bonuses. I'm offering these services. Would you be interested? If you're not interested, do you know someone? I love that kind of people because that's what they want to do, but they don't do it. They expect you to intuitively understand what they are interested in, to tell them, hey, I need that service. They're not offering anything. Why would I accept anything? That's how I think. You see, ideologically, people think somebody's transactional because they're telling them what they offer, what they have, and also share with them, hey, I have this offer, I have this discount, I have these services that I do. If you know someone who's interested, it's not transactional for me. If I have something good, why would I keep it from the best people around me? My friends, my colleagues, I have to share it. If I don't share, actually, it's a disservice to them. Why should they figure out from somebody else the things that I have, which I truly believe important, beneficiary? But here's one thing. I've seen other people. They come to me for a transaction, and I know it's a transaction. I say no, and they get mad. There was one guy, we know each other. I actually appreciate him and honor this guy. The kind of communication he has, the kind of political capital he has. And one day he called me and said, Asagid, I want you to listen to me. I have an opportunity. I want to give you the best first. I'm just looking for 12 people. I want them to invest this much, and I want to give them this share, but I want you to be one of those 12 people. I was excited because he's giving me opportunity. And we had a Zoom chat, and he explained to me. And then, I am a business broker, and I help buyers to understand the valuation of a business they want to buy, the kind of questions they should ask, and so on. I'm not a typical broker. I do analysis. I have extra tools to understand the right valuation of a business. And when he was offering me those shares based on some valuation, I asked him some questions like, how did you get to those valuations? He couldn't explain to me. He gets irritated. And then he asked him, who are the board members? He said, why do you ask me? He was irritated. We're good friends. I'm a good person. Why are you asking me these questions? Why don't you believe? I believe you. But I'm asking these questions to see whether the deal is right. And if the deal is right, why not you answering my questions? You see, he came for transaction. He wanted me just to give him money without asking questions. I don't advise to my buyers to do that, to my investors. And therefore, I don't do it for myself. And he was saying, these are interns, not just one intern, 5 or so interns from a well-known university who've done the evaluation. Fine, these are students practicing. I'm a practitioner. I don't believe in the valuation, the pro forma of somebody. I asked the right question. I need some numbers, why you reached to that valuation. He was like mad. The discussion couldn't go far. Why? And he never wanted to talk to me. That's transactional. He offers something. I asked questions. He didn't answer them properly. I didn't invest. And therefore, our friendship went to the flame. Boom. It's gone. I don't do that. If I tell somebody I have these services, are you interested? They say this, oh, no, I'm not interested. Now I take note. Next time I don't ask them. If I have a bonus and I share with them or some discounts, or I tell them what kind of things I'm doing. And if there are any interested people, I appreciate if you connect me. They say they don't respond to that email or that LinkedIn. I don't take it seriously. I don't take it personally. They don't like it. They didn't have time to respond, or they don't want to communicate. Fine, I move on. Next time I get opportunity, I reach out to them. Somebody rejects me, I call them after a week or so, not to talk about that, because they're my friends. And I want to keep on communicating. What I'm saying is that at least I know how people view me as a transactional guy. This is not a blind spot for me, but I have an ideology which is well founded, and that doesn't bother me, but I'm aware of that. The third and the final thing that people say is he thinks he knows it all. Now, these kind of people, they have some truth into that, because my name is A to Z, which means I'm a generalist. If you want to talk to me something, I have a general knowledge. When I go to a client, I'm not going with a hammer and tell the client, hey, your problem is this nail, and I'm going to nail it. That's not how I work. For decades, at least for 2 decades, mentors, friends, they try to make me a specialist. Just pick one lane and you become successful. I know I have people who specialize and good at what they do. Most probably, if I pick a lane, I would be successful too. But that's not who I am. My identity is A to Z, holistic approach. And when I approach a client, when we discuss, if their problem is conflict, I understand that's the solution. And I can offer a solution. Let's say if they say, no, I need a specialist on this one, I have a number of specialists in that. I go there and I see that they are making changes, and I offer them. I've done a lot of workshops, coaching. I'm enough for example, to help their people understand change, the phases of change, use some different models, how to overcome resistance to change. I could do it. But if they say I need a specialist, I have some people. The good thing about me being generalist is now that client, I am bringing the right specialist, scope the project, help them get the right price, and I could be able to give them feedback and evaluate the work because I know about change. For example, I can evaluate the work. I am more helpful here by being a generalist for my clients, my friends, my colleagues. And I'm not ashamed of that, but I'm aware people are bothered. There are people who come to me and say, you know what, AZ, we have this initiative. We're bringing people who have a lane, and we see that you're a generalist. We want you to come in, just pick one lane, and then work with us. And I'm saying, okay, what's the big deal here? Yeah, you have to pick a lane. Yeah, I'll pick a lane for this purpose, just for this initiative. Out of that, by my own, in my private space, why would you care that I'm a generalist? No, the people who come to this initiative, they're gonna figure you out, Google you out. Practically what they're asking me is, don't be a generalist. Don't act like you know it all. Just drop everything, just pick one lane and join. Why would I do that? That's not my brand. They are right, being generalist may not work for some people, or maybe not advantages compared to specialists. At least I know what people are thinking, what people are saying about me. Some month ago, I had a discussion with someone who was looking for a coach, and he knows I'm a coach. He approached me when I hired me to work with him. And in the Zoom chat, he asked me, what kind of certification you have for coaching? And I told him. And he said, you know what, we're looking for ICF executive coaches, and you don't have that. I'm not saying I'm not working with you, but I just want you to know all of the coaches that work with us, they have the ICF coaching. I said, yeah, I don't have that, but my coaching, I got it from a reputable institution, and I have been a coach. I have the experience how to do it. Plus, I do coaching after people taking assessments, for example, 360 feedback assessment or MBTI or emotional intelligence. I do coaching based on the results of those assessments. I explained to him, and I said, I see value in that, but I immediately sensed that he was not interested. Because I'm a generalist, that's not the only thing I do. Coaching is not the only thing I do. And I was trying to explore if there are any needs that he has I could address. And I started to ask him questions, where you want to take the business next? And he said, well, I want to sell my business. I tried one time, they didn't give me good valuation. And now I'm working on that. I most probably sell it down the road. Now I'm a business broker. I could help him sell. And I start to ask him questions. Some of the questions were, how much price they did give you? He gave me some number. And I said, did you have a broker? He said, no, I don't have. I told him that would have helped you because business brokers, they know the checklist of the buyers. They could help you to increase the value of your business. He said, oh, I didn't know that I need to use brokers. I use brokers for housing and for lease and so on, but I didn't know I need a business broker. I told him I'm a business broker. We can work together if you want. I can help you, let's say, for the next 1 year to make sure that the business is independent of you. You have a great team together, the system, the process, the documentation, and then we can find the right buyers for your business, stuff like that. We had like 30 minutes conversation on that. And then he said, one of my worries, however, right now is, okay, once I sell this business, where do I put my money? In the bank? I don't know. I think the inflation. Now I'm a financial advisor. And now I was asking him questions and helping him to understand, hey, you have so many investment vehicles that you put your money first, you diversify it, and you could put into different vehicles that could give you a great return. And some of these funds, they may help you work on the tax, and they capture tax and so on. Of course, I was not specifically mentioning any fund. I'm bound with the professionalism as an investment advisor. I was not advising him. I was not giving any specific advice about any of the products or any of the funds, but I was giving him general knowledge. At the end of that meeting, he had another meeting. He had to go. He stopped and he said, Az, I'm glad we made. I need to talk to you again. We need to meet in person. He's local. We need to meet in person and have coffee. I want to talk to you more. You know a lot of things. Think about this. I'm A to Z. If a person comes to me, if I don't help them in one area, I may help them in another areas. It's an addition. But people see this as a negative thing, like a side effect, or kind of like liability, because they think I'm generalist, I'm trying to know it all. No, this is an advantage. And I know when to say, I don't know much about this, I know someone else. I'm a generalist. If you need a specialist, I have someone. In conclusion, leadership begins with self. And you want to lead yourself well? Well, you have to increase your self-awareness. You need to know who you are, truly who you are, your belief systems, your uniqueness, why you're different than other people, and why your business is different than your competitors, your strength, your limitations. And most importantly, I spend a lot of time, you need to uncover your blind spots, which means you need to know what other people are thinking about you, saying about you. Find a way to know about that and then evaluate these feedback. Are these feedback helpful and you want to change the way you do or the way you say? Yes, I gave you some examples. I have changed a lot of things based on feedback. But some of the feedback, I know what's going on. I'm not blindsided. I know what people think about me. I try to minimize the impact of that by being honest to them, telling them, hey, you may find me maybe a little bit egotistical, but just be patient with me. And I have also a humble side of me. You say I make it easy because I'm self-aware. Or I tell them that, some people say that I'm transactional. Maybe I am, but here is how I view it. Or I would say, you know what, I'm a generalist. Some people think that I know it all, or I'm all over the map. But you have to believe me that there is a limit. When it comes to time to suggest to a specialist, I will do that. What you need to do is find a way to gather feedback from people, take some more assessments. If you need any help, for example, for yourself or maybe to your team to take assessment like 360 feedback or emotional, whatever it is, or TKI, which could help you know your mode when you are in conflict. You could be able to be aware, and then you give meaning to the result and take action. That's how I improved myself, increased my self-awareness, and uncovered my blind spots to lead myself. And we have different assessments that we have. If you reach out, we can choose the right assessments. Your people take those assessments. Based on those assessments, we can do debriefing plus team building exercises and workshops. Thank you very much for watching. I want to learn more about how you handle in terms of uncovering your blind spots. What is that one blind spot you recently uncovered? Please share. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.